She died alone in a hot car while her mom got high and had sex just feet away, and she couldn't even cry for help. The death of 13-year-old Cristina Pangalangan is a chilling example of neglect and parental failure. Cristina, who had cerebral palsy, died of hyperthermia after being left in a hot car. She was wheelchair-bound and nonverbal, rendering her completely helpless. This tragedy unfolded in August 2019 in South Carolina. The details are disturbing, painting a picture of unimaginable suffering and callous indifference. This is a story that demands our attention, not just for the horror of it, but for the lessons it holds. Give a like and subscribe, leave a comment. Cristina was left unattended in a car for nearly 6 agonizing hours. During that time, the internal temperature of the vehicle soared to a staggering 135 degrees. Her mother, Rita Pangalangan, and her boyfriend, Larry King Jr., were nearby. They were inside King's home, just feet away from Cristina's suffering. The couple was reportedly on a multi-day methamphetamine binge. Prosecutors would later describe their actions as nothing short of torture. Surveillance footage captured the couple's activities while Cristina was trapped in the sweltering car. They were seen arguing, relaxing on a porch swing, and even embracing. For nearly an hour, they were inside the house, engaging in sexual activity. They completely ignored Cristina's desperate situation. After about 4 hours, they locked themselves out of the car. Their priority wasn't checking on Cristina, it was retrieving a spare key fob. When Cristina was finally removed from the car, it was too late. She was dead. Her body temperature was recorded at 109.9 degrees, the highest the thermometer could register. Vomit was found in her lungs, a grim indication of her body shutting down. The sheer agony she must have endured is almost unbearable to contemplate. This wasn't just negligence. It was a complete abdication of parental responsibility. Rita Pangalangan and Larry King Jr. were both found guilty of murder. They were also convicted of inflicting great bodily injury on a child. The legal system held them accountable, but no sentence can truly compensate for Cristina's life. Rita Pangalangan was sentenced to 37 years in prison. Larry King Jr. received a sentence of 32 years. Both also received concurrent 20-year sentences for child abuse, a reflection of the severity of their crimes. Cristina was unable to scream or open the car door herself. Even minimal care could have saved her life. The evidence presented at trial painted a clear picture of neglect long before that fateful day. Witnesses testified about Rita's requests for childcare. On one occasion, Rita left a babysitter with no groceries and didn't return for 2 nights. A former roommate even testified that Rita had suggested leaving Cristina in a car with the windows down. Rita Pangalangan was a teacher with the Colleton County School District. She resigned from her position on August 13, 2019, shortly after Cristina's death. Her teaching license was permanently revoked following her conviction. The fact that someone entrusted with the care and education of children could commit such an act is deeply disturbing. She had over 25 years of teaching experience, a stark contrast to her actions as a mother. Rita's other daughter, Elizabeth Clyde, defended her mother. She claimed that Rita loved Cristina and provided for her needs. Elizabeth said that Rita believed she was created to be Cristina's mom. While grief and familial loyalty are understandable, they cannot excuse the inexcusable. The evidence speaks for itself, regardless of a daughter's perception of her mother. This case highlights the complexities of family dynamics in the face of horrific crimes. A wrongful death and survival action lawsuit was filed in August 2022. The lawsuit named Rita and King as defendants, seeking justice for Cristina's suffering and death. This was a necessary step in holding them accountable for their actions. A separate lawsuit was filed against the State Department of Social Services in 2021. It alleged that DSS was notified of inappropriate care but failed to protect Cristina. This raises serious questions about the effectiveness of the child welfare system. A settlement was reached in October 2024, totaling around $314,000. the Department of Social Services paid $195,000 to Cristina's estate. While financial compensation can never replace a life, it acknowledges the systemic failures that contributed to this tragedy. Cristina is remembered as a purely loving and wonderful soul. She loved watching cartoons, a simple pleasure denied to her in her final hours. Her obituary stands in stark contrast to the horrific circumstances of her death. This case serves as a chilling reminder of the devastating consequences of parental failure. It underscores the importance of vigilance, accountability, and a robust child welfare system. Cristina's death should never be forgotten. This tragedy forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about addiction, neglect, and the vulnerability of children with disabilities. We must learn from this case to prevent similar tragedies from happening again. The system failed Cristina, and we must ensure it doesn't fail another child. The details of this case are particularly disturbing because of Cristina's inability to advocate for herself. She was completely dependent on her mother for care and protection. That trust was betrayed in the most horrific way imaginable. The fact that Rita Pangalangan was a teacher adds another layer of complexity to this case. Someone entrusted with the care of children should have known better. Her actions represent a profound breach of trust and a complete disregard for human life. The surveillance footage of Rita and Larry King Jr. is particularly damning. Their casual indifference to Cristina's suffering is shocking. They prioritize their own selfish desires over the well-being of a vulnerable child. The legal proceedings in this case were crucial in holding Rita and Larry King Jr. accountable for their actions. However, the criminal justice system can only do so much. Prevention is key to protecting children from abuse and neglect. The lawsuit against the Department of Social Services highlights the importance of a functioning child welfare system. When reports of neglect are ignored, the consequences can be deadly. We must ensure that DSS has the resources and training necessary to protect vulnerable children. The settlement reached in the lawsuit against DSS is a step in the right direction. However, it is not enough. We must address the systemic issues that allowed Cristina's case to fall through the cracks. This requires a commitment from policymakers, social workers, and the community as a whole. Cristina's story is a tragedy that should never be forgotten. It is a reminder of the importance of protecting vulnerable children and holding those who harm them accountable. We must learn from this case and work to prevent similar tragedies from happening again. This case also raises important questions about the role of addiction in child neglect. Rita and Larry King Jr. were reportedly on a methamphetamine binge at the time of Cristina's death. Addiction can impair judgment and lead to reckless behavior, with devastating consequences for children. We must address the root causes of addiction and provide support for parents who are struggling with substance abuse. This includes access to treatment, counseling, and other resources. By helping parents overcome addiction, we can protect children from neglect and abuse. This case also highlights the vulnerability of children with disabilities. Cristina was unable to speak or move on her own. She was completely dependent on her mother for care. Children with disabilities are often more vulnerable to abuse and neglect because they are less able to report it. We must ensure that children with disabilities receive the care and protection they need. This includes providing support for their families and training for caregivers. We must also be vigilant in identifying and reporting suspected cases of abuse and neglect. Cristina's death is a stain on our society. It is a reminder that we must do more to protect vulnerable children. We must hold parents accountable for their actions and ensure that the child welfare system is functioning effectively. Only then can we prevent similar tragedies from happening again. The details of this case are so disturbing that it is easy to feel overwhelmed. However, we must not allow ourselves to become desensitized to the suffering of children. We must remain vigilant and committed to protecting them from harm. Cristina's story is a call to action. It is a reminder that we all have a role to play in protecting children. Whether we are parents, teachers, social workers, or simply concerned citizens, we must be willing to speak out and take action when we see something wrong. We must also support organizations that are working to protect children from abuse and neglect. These organizations provide vital services such as foster care, adoption, and counseling. By supporting them, we can help to ensure that all children have the opportunity to grow up in safe and loving homes. Cristina's death was a preventable tragedy. By learning from this case and taking action, we can help to prevent similar tragedies from happening again. We owe it to Cristina and to all vulnerable children to do everything in our power to protect them from harm. Let us remember Cristina Pangalangan, not for the horrific circumstances of her death, but for the purely loving and wonderful soul that she was. Let her memory inspire us to create a world where all children are safe, loved, and protected. This case serves as a stark reminder that the most vulnerable among us often rely on the very people who are most likely to harm them. The betrayal of trust in this situation is profound and unforgivable. We must be ever vigilant in protecting those who cannot protect themselves. The systemic failures that contributed to Cristina's death demand a thorough and honest examination. We must identify the weaknesses in the child welfare system and implement reforms to prevent similar tragedies from occurring in the future. This requires a commitment from all stakeholders, including government agencies, social service providers, and the community as a whole. The story of Cristina Pangalangan is a heartbreaking example of the devastating consequences of neglect and parental failure. It is a story that should never be forgotten, and it is a story that should inspire us to take action to protect vulnerable children. Let us honor Cristina's memory by working to create a world where all children are safe, loved, and protected.